Volture, what's going on?
Man, what's up, man? Yo, I felt like I felt like it was you from 2003. I didn't think I showed Emily. She thought it wasn't edited or anything. She was like, I thought that was the original edit. I was like, no, he redid the vocals on it. She was like, wow, he sounds great. You sound actually improved. Like I was like, wow, he's on point, man. Especially with all the information you have now on all of us now, you can really, put some magic on it.
That I'm gonna tell you, that really moves me the way you really, you know, emphasize that because, I listen and pay attention to details. Details is very important to me. Um, I, like think about it. How many other shows besides us? Because we were not the only ones on public access M&M. Of course, there were several others too that were watching. The enemies were watching it, and of course, we had the KWF or whatever their federation was. At one point, I remember this like it was yesterday. They were on one of their shows. They kind of started mocking us, and when a competition does that, there's a problem.
Yeah.
It's called envy, and you really don't want to start advertising someone else's show on your program. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
That's something that's forbidden. Like even Vince McMahon to this day, he gets pissed off any of the wrestlers go off script and mention any other promotion going on. He's really strict on that, and those guys were just basically telling their fans, "Hey, check out this other show," and it basically is like if we're the top brand and seen as competition, why wouldn't I, as a wrestling fan, first of all, I'm gonna check it out for you mentioning them. Like, okay, there's another show going on. I'm gonna tune in, and that's what people did. And I even seen people come from different parts of the boroughs, and they would like show up and be like, "Oh, we saw your show," and I was like shocked. I had a couple guys. I think this was after you was gone. A couple kids came up to me. They were younger than me, and they were like, "Hey, Vulture." I was like shocked. I was like totally in awe. Like, "Oh, you're cool," or whatever. Like they was just like complimenting me, and I was wrestling at the time, and I was like just looking, like, wait, what the heck? Like, who the heck are they? I didn't recognize them, so I know they were, you know, watching our product, and that was everything. Just hearing, even if it was just a couple kids, that meant everything. I was a teenager at the time. I actually, my first match was with you in Central Park, and then the second match I had was behind the school, and I believe it was against Zero, and that was actually on my birthday. I just had turned, I think, 13. I was freaking young, and I almost died. It's in the Titan Shrine intro you made when he did that Northern Light suplex. That was really huge. Everybody talks about it to this day. Like my body arched backwards, and it was like everybody thought something happened to me. I thought I was dead. I got up from that. I couldn't believe it, but I guess I sold it well. I didn't know at the time what a Northern Lights was. If he would have just said suplex, I would have, flipped over right. But he just said Northern Lights, and I was like, what the F was that? And he basically lifted me up with all his strength. I was all Zero. I didn't even move because I didn't know what the move was. But I almost, killed myself because of, that mistake. It was on my end. And Zero felt horrible after it. You know, we had to cut the match short because I was in a little pain. Well, not a little pain. I was in some quite pain, but I still continued the match, you know, as far as I could, and then we ended. And I believe he pinned me, and he got the win there. But that's some unfinished business for the future. I'm sure. I actually have him on Facebook also.
Really?
Comments. Yeah, he's very in tune with, you know, with me, and like he has a family, and we both have our, you know, family, and he's very family oriented, and he's very, when I met Zero, I thought he was really tough and mean, and when I talked to him, it was like, wow, he's so humble. And I instantly knew he didn't mean that, you know, that to do that move purposely like that. And it was my fault. You know, I didn't know what the heck. For the Northern Lights, if he would have just said suplex, I would have said, okay, he's flipping me over. So I would have jumped and, you know, caught my fall better, and that fell exactly on my head. But yeah, I almost died on my birthday. But thank God, you know, God was with me, because yeah, I survived that. But yeah, that was cool. You know, just watching it, like, wow, I'm still alive after that. Like, that was really tough. But yeah, everybody joked about it, but it was really serious to me for a while. I didn't find it too funny at the time, because it was like something that, you know, could have went wrong. It could have went, you know, left, you know, and but thank God, like I said, it didn't. So, oh my God, but yo, we had like some good chemistry. That move, I remember you made that move up where we would you would do the I think actually we did that shit. That's the same move that I just told you about Will and Pete that they started doing. You would put the wrestler on your knee, and then I would go on the top and leg drop them. That move was awesome. That was all you, by the way. I remember you making that up and saying, Dave, come here and leg drop him. And I was like, okay. Like, I was like I never did that move, so I was like, you know, a little nervous. I didn't know if I would sell it right, but it went. Every time that I've seen us do that move, it came out pretty good. And the way you flipped over the wrestler after, like, the contact that I made, it really sold it. And I was like, wow, that was all Vinny. I specifically remember you making that up. And I think Will and Pete may have stole that move from us, so we might have some unfinished business with those two.
Yeah, that would be great. You know, someone gotta pay for that, but literally and figuratively. But that would be great. I mean, I wouldn't mind you and me versus them. I wouldn't mind that at all. It would be 2KW versus GWA. That's how I look at it, since Will at one point went to 2KW with Peter, though, and that would be great, like, to do like a sort of inter-federation sort of thing,
crossover or something of that sort. Yeah.
I mean, I think what they would have to do in order to really separate the show is that they would have to have their editors. You know, I don't think they're going to do that, but you know, I'm just saying to make it more like realistic. Their editors, their commentators, you know, whoever is working on that show, and of course, on the GWA side, you know, I'll have everything covered. It's no big deal. And I've always wanted that too, you know. Even in 2002, I wanted that Federation versus Federation. But I don't know if they really wanted to do that. Now, I wanted to do it really badly.
Oh, man. I was talking to Emily, and she was just watching a match for me, and she's like, you know what, David? To be honest, ever since when Vinny left, everything became chaos, and it was just like, it was all about power and pride, and like there was no order, you know. Like Mary tried, I could say she honestly tried to keep everything calmer but it was too much for her. And you could see like the exhaust in her face. You know, like she was getting fed up. You know, trying to keep things in order. It wasn't the same. It wasn't the same. I would say when the first years that I joined, and everything felt, like we were working together. After that, it was like everybody was out for themselves, and I couldn't stand for that, man. I just, I know Pete was under a lot of pressure because the guys, and he was trying to make everybody happy, and I don't blame him. It's a lot of pressure on a writer, period. And you see a lot of talent, but you have your friends too, and they come in the middle of that, and you wanna make stars, not break them, and that's what happened. But it was out of his hands. It wasn't like he didn't try. He was trying his best, but it wasn't the same. Like when you guys were a trio. You, Mary, and Pete were a good trio, and things just fell apart. In my eyes, it didn't fall apart probably in their eyes because they kept going. Like we left, they kept on trucking, and I'm not gonna say that's the wrong thing to do. I would obviously keep on if guys left my federation, and I had a lot of pressure, but I just saw things differently at the time, and I don't know if Pete maybe does see that stuff, like maybe have some regret on, some of the steps he took, just because of trying to keep his, stars or, friends happy. Like, another thing I went through, I don't know, you remember Wasp?
Oh yeah. He had a makeup like. I think he was like the ghetto version of Sting, actually. You know what I mean?
He was our Sting.
Yeah.
And so me and Tom, we had a weird relationship. He was cool with me, but then I was hearing other things. But he never, made me feel like he didn't like me, but I was hearing different things. It was about Emily, like he had a crush on her or whatever. All right, a lot of guys did back there. But, yeah, past that. But at the time after you left, I was the cruiserweight champion, I believe, before you left. I lost the title. I don't even know to who. I wasn't happy about it, so that's probably why I don't remember it. I just wanted to be cruiserweight champion forever, but that didn't happen. I understand. It's business. So moving forward, the next title I was supposed to win was the Intercontinental title, and at that time, I think you were there. Wasp was Intercontinental champion. He was supposed to fall to me, but for several weeks he didn't show up for the match. So I think they ended up stripping him from the title, and then I think I had a match against someone for it, but it wasn't what I wanted. I wanted to beat Wasp. He had the name. He's already been established there, and I thought he was super cool, and I was like, shit, we could pull some magic and make this shit look, amazing. But that never happened. So, for a month straight, I believe he called out and he didn't show. So I think they stripped the title from him. And then I fought somebody. I don't know who it was. But yeah, man, I was going through a lot of issues once you left. It's like you had a vision. You had a very open vision of a lot of the talents and what should go on, but I think it was a conflict after you left of a lot of egotistical people back there, and I didn't care who I lost to, but as long as it was leading to some type of some type of, I guess the word is like some type of, I'm freaking stuck. But like just for me to like propel to the next level, I felt like nobody wanted to see me get there. But I wasn't all about me. But now that I'm thinking about it, I'm like, okay, it was something maybe someone had against me that I didn't get to, that potential level that I felt I should have reached. And I was at a peak. I was peaking and I was getting better and I was really investing in my character. But yeah, it just fell apart and I had to separate, separate, separate. Sorry. I had to part ways because of the whole thing. It wasn't my intention, but I felt like that's what was best because I didn't think it was leading to anything that I thought, my potential at the time was like, I felt like I was, I'm not saying I was the best wrestler, but I felt like with help, like we could have made things really good. Not just for me, for everybody. But it was just too much. I want to say it was politics. Too many politics going on. And like I said, the control, after you left, it was like the control was out of control. But it's like, it's past, I had to move on. But, now that we were talking about it, I'm open to talk about, what I felt. And hearing what you felt, I feel like we both agree that when you left and then I left, more part of you, like we had like some type of foundation and we made things look real, serious. It was like believable. It was a lot of things I feel occurred was people were joking around too much on camera, especially commentary. People weren't taking it serious like you did. You took this shit like this was life, and at the time it was, I was my life right there. I look forward to every single Saturday. And I would show up early. I had this walk I would do from 100th Street and the FDR, and I would walk all the way, all by myself. It was like, I guess, a premeditation thing that I had. I'll throw my headphones on, and I'll walk and stare at the cars and the river and, make my way up, to Manhattan Center. And I will go up the steps and, stretch out and meditate a little and get focused. That was my routine every Saturday. It helped me to be focused and feel serious and like, get in that mode, like it's time to kick ass. And yeah, man, if let's say something happens and we get back into wrestling and we do go pro or whatever, or this is a story that I would love you to mention and me to talk about with you and maybe do a podcast and go back to the roots and see who the fuck pulled out the roots, because it wasn't you. I know you had some things that, we could talk about on your end because I want to know more about what happened with you and why'd you leave because shit, man, I needed you. No, you know what I mean. But I mean, like, I wish, you would have kept on or even just stood backstage, like, or as a, like even a writer or a producer. I know you tried to keep on producing, but something happened with Vinny Mac, and that's what I want to get to eventually if, we do some future podcasts.
Oh, absolutely.
I want to know Like, what the heck tipped you off? Because I know you were in this, and you were like, shit. I looked up to you. You were like an idol, and I was like, damn, he's really dedicated, And I feel like with that motivation that you had, it sparked up everybody to bring out a character in them, and once you left, that it kind of died out. Everybody was all over the place. And Pete tried to maintain it. I'm not going to blame Pete for anything, because he did the best he could, and he was trying to keep everybody happy. But he had a lot of pressure from some of the guys. I'm not going to mention names, but they know who they are, and yeah, man. A lot of people, I guess, misunderstood me, because I come from a background, my parents, raised me through church, and I believe in God, and I pray every day, or at least try to, and I try to keep an open mind on people and what they're going through, so I try not to be judgmental, and, I'm push no blames on anybody, but that, helped me, stay, cool, calm, and collective. But, I was pissed off inside, but I never really expressed my feelings. I was really young, and I wish I would have. If I would have probably just let out everything, I think maybe people would have been like, oh, shit. But, I kept my personal life because I come, I started off, good kid, and then I got wrapped up in the streets, and then I started selling some drugs just to make money, and, it wasn't me. At the time, I was struggling, financially, and, my dad, he had 4 kids, and it was hard for him to support all of us, so I tried to make a little money, and not the best way, but at the time, I didn't, I wasn't even legal to work, and, I had that ghetto side of me, I had fights, and a lot of people behind the school don't know that David. Now, I'm saying David because that's who I was after Volture. I went back to myself, and, I feel like a lot of people thought I was like this suave or soft or pretty boy look guy. Yeah, I have that look on the outside, but in the inside, I'm tough as nails, man. And anybody tests me, they know, I had a few fights, and those guys, they're cool with me now. It's like it's a mutual respect thing, But that's the side I never bought behind the school. That was a character that I also wanted to transition to, which we could talk about another time, which was D Nice, and he's like this, more urban. I was gonna transition to this bad guy, and nobody will recognize Volture, and eventually they're gonna want Volture back. But that never got to that, and I tried to pitch in some ideas to Pete, but he didn't really. I think he didn't see that yet. Everybody saw me as Volture, the nice guy and stuff. The closest I did was becoming heel was with you, and I think we joined the Elite. Was that? Yeah, right? Were you in the Elite?
I was in the Elite. I think the original Elite was formed, if I'm not mistaken, in 2001. It was right after the millennial, and it was probably close to 9/11. And I think it was JSA, Peter, and then I had the the distinct pleasure to referee a match, which a lot of people didn't know I was going to convert. They thought I was just going to do,
Yeah, you sweet chin music somebody, right? At the end of that match?
I think I did, if I'm not mistaken. I think it was Hunter Payne or something like that. And
Wow, Hunter. Wow, that's a name I haven't heard in a very long time.
yeah. And I think I
He
switched
was
him
like a
him.
Triple H.
Right. Yeah, he was like a Triple H to. He was our version of that in the GWA. And I remember Chim using him, and then I believe JSA got the cover, and that's when they raised my hand, and I became the third guy. It was like the same. I think it was the same concept in the NWO. Remember with Scott and Hall
Of course,
invading.
That's epic. Yes.
Right. He was in. They were raiding WCW, and then the third guy ended up being Hulk Hogan. So I guess they try to redo that. They try to redo that again with GWA. So it kind of worked, I guess, because I was, I guess, the original, started everything, and then Peter came along, the second guy, and then from there, the roster was very small at first. In 2000 it was very small. But I think as we just kept going with it every week, and we was consistent, which was very important because sometimes you slack. A lot of wrestling shows, they slack in the storylines or because remember, whatever you're doing, you got to keep this in your mind. You're telling a story to everyone who's watching. And me personally, whether there's a one guy or many people, I want to make sure that at the end of that night, that the story is told correctly and that it makes sense and that they want to tune in next week to find out more. It's like an addiction. It's like a bad habit, you can't break. The bad habit is, oh my God, I got to watch GWA. It's starting right now in a few minutes. Oh my God, I got to watch it. You know what I'm saying? It's like, you don't even want to miss it, and because you saw and you liked and it's something different, and you turn on other M&M wrestling shows and you see that they're not doing what they're supposed to do, and a lot of them were mediocre. If you noticed, plain, dull, no offense. Everyone is trying to do their thing, but there was nothing special. I watched the other competition very carefully. I did. I was one of those that I tune into, Nelson Torres' show, WTF. I watched what the others did. Not that
it wasn't nothing special. I agree with you 1,000% on that because I did tune in like maybe I want to say 2 or 3 times to the other competitions, maybe in a total 3 times. I just checked out each show maybe once, and I didn't feel like that same thing. Like what made me go to Mahan Center with you guys was I was up late and I tuned in to the show. I think you had a late slot when I first joined. It was maybe like after 12 in the morning or something, and I saw the show and I was like, oh shit, this is something that I do all the time in the playground with my friends. I had Dylan, I had Travis, I had Terrence, I had Karan, I had a few of my friends, and we used to do this all the time. Like I had a ladder in my house, and I had the little plastic title, and me and Karan had this big match. I was DX, and they were, I think, NWO, and we were in the same projects, but he was on one side and I was on the other side. So we built the crew, and I actually got access to one of the it was one of the Porter's storage rooms in Metro North. He gave me the key to the room, and it was a slap stink. It was like a little, I want to say like a little room for them to like load up their water and clean the building or whatever and keep their tools in. So I had the key. I actually got a lock, and I told the guy, here is the key. I gave him the extra key. I put a lock on it, and I had Dave the extra key to I believe it was Travis, Dylan's little brother, and he got manipulated and gave the key away to Karan. So they came in my little DX office and they tagged all over. This would have been epic for 2KW or GWA, whatever, at the time. Like, if I could have pitched in some ideas, because always felt like a story writer at the end of the day. Like, but I'm more about, making everything work. Like you said, like piece by piece, everything has to fit together. It has to be, it has to make sense. It has to, like, make a feud, build it, brew it up until you make that perfect recipe so you can serve everybody a good plate and they're full, not, oh, half full, I'm still hungry, like, give them what they want, a full plate of food that they're full and they're happy and satisfied, So they basically broke in the room and they tagged all over NWO and all this stuff. And I think it was NWO. I don't even know what their group was, but I know we were DX. But they put on my lock. This lock is cheap. It was so. At the time, I felt violated. I was like, oh man, who the heck? How they got in here? But it was freaking cool. It was good. It was good entertainment, and we actually had a ladder match, but it was on a concrete floor behind the school of Junior High School 99 on 100th Street and 1st and FDR. Behind it is like an area where people would play stickball because there's two walls, and then each floor was like, basically, if you hit the first floor, that's a single, second floor was a double, triple, and then a home run for a floor. But this is a spot I came up with. I was like, they had scaffolds at the time. I was like, we can hang the title up on the top of the scaffold, and we'll have a ladder match. So I basically, at the end, I got screwed by, some of the guys who were on my team, and I lost the title. But that was the first time. There was no cameras, there was no script. It was just like pure like planning at the moment, and it was epic. It was cool. But then eventually, I like I said, I watched WCW and WWF at the time, which is WWE now. I wasn't too much a fan of ECW, honestly, but I would tune in sometimes, but it was like kind of late for me to watch, and my dad, he was kind of strict. He loves wrestling, by the way, but, when it came to school and, priorities, like, he didn't play, and he was strict on that. So, like, I would have to sneak if he was sleeping, and I knew he was, knocked out already. I could watch ECW, but I wasn't a fan of. It was too much, like, not hardcore, but it was just gory and like I like stories, and to me it was just more. It was wrestling, but it wasn't. It wasn't for me. A lot of people love ECW. I love a lot of wrestlers that come from ECW, but I feel like it wasn't like, my type of product, and then I saw GWA. I was like, shit, I'm watching this every week. And I think after maybe the second show, when you posted, where you guys wrestle, I showed up at 2 o'clock, maybe at 1 o'clock. I think I showed up early. And I got to talking with you, Mary, and Pete, and I don't know who else was there, but I think it was just a few of us. It wasn't even more than 10 people, and then we transferred from Mahan Center. We walked all the way down to Central Park, and we found a spot, and we taped, and I got to, have the pleasure of my first match, against Vinny Mac. And you were the wrestler that, when I saw you with the title and your outfit and your gear all souped up and you was all ready to go, I was like, I want to wrestle that guy. So Pete and Mary looked at me like, "Are you sure?" Like I'm gonna kill myself. Basically, I'm basically signing my own, you know, signing my own death note. So I said, "Yeah, I would arrest him," and it got back to you, and then you accepted, and I gotta say, I think you were the first person to do the Olympic slam. That day, you actually did. It looked just like the Olympic slam. Well, I remember you picking me up and like spinning me around, and I literally, when I fell, there was a rock right next to my head.
Ooh.
Thank God that you dropped me perfectly, because that rock was literally like an inch away from me, like, and it was like embedded in the ground, so you couldn't tell because it looked like it was part of the grass. But I looked at it, I was like, whoa. And I think that's how you pinned me with that move. I'm not 100% sure. That's why I want to see this match again. I seen that match one time when you put it on the show and it aired. I think I waited about 2 weeks for that, because on the first week you guys showed the first half of Central Park, and then I think it was the other. I'm not 100%, but I think it was a 2-part show. And when I saw that, I was like, "Whoa, man!" And I thought about that rock, and I was like you basically asking for that match. You know, like, I guess they saw something in me, like, "Wow, you want to wrestle one of our best?" And it's your first day, okay? Like, he probably was like, "All right, go ahead, Dave." And yeah, man, it went well. And I was nervous, I was scared I was gonna get kicked or hit in my face or something, but I was willing to go through that just to get my foot in the door, and I did. And I'm so grateful, man. I'm very humbled by you and Pete, and I'm so happy that you found me, and like, I found you, but you found me and got back to me, and I was like so happy just to hear from you, man, because it's been years that I've been asking, like, where the heck is Vinny Mac? It was like, where's Waldo? But I look on the page and I can't find him. You know, it was like, I was like, shit, I'm gonna find this guy. So I finally turned to the right page and I got connected with you. Thank you, Joes. And I messaged her about it. I was like, thank you so much for this. Like, you just, you brought back a lot of memories and a lot of great memories in my life. I gotta say, this is like the best time of my life. I met a lot of good people, especially Emily, and I'm fortunate, that I got to experience that with you, because a lot of wrestlers that I know, a couple friends of mine tried to join. There was this kid named Chris, and the first day he joined, he had long hair like me. They started calling him the fake Volture, so that shit stuck with him. It stuck with him for a long time. So, like, I was grateful that I was unique enough that they didn't have anyone to remind me of but Jeff Hardy, Triple H, and a little bit of The Rock and Shawn Michaels, Where I used to hustle at, like I was telling you, I had a few of my friends, like a couple of my bosses that I used to work for. They came behind the school and they saw me jump off. I actually jumped off the top of that gate up the steps, just to show them like how aerial I was, and they started calling me Shawn Michaels because I did this sweet chin music. I actually have a picture of it. Emily found the other day, and I was like, wow, I was just thinking about this. This is why they call me Shawn Michaels, but they call me Shawn Mikes or whatever. So it's like, wow, like, that's the only thing. I don't care. I'll take that. Like, compare me to those guys. I'm freaking happier than comparing me to another 2KW member. Like, oh, I'm biting off of someone, or knocking their gimmick off and like ripping off their style. I never heard that, so I was happy about that. I'd rather be compared to any superstar than nothing, or someone that I don't really think that's like
But
like.
yeah, I was just gonna ask you a question. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, Coach. I'm really loving this conversation, but I don't know, something just kept playing in my head over and over again. You was mentioning in the first conversation before you watched the show, you was mentioning how a lot of people just didn't want to do it anymore and whatever. Um, and I could understand that maybe it felt out of place, maybe because you know when a certain person that you probably watch every week on TV and happens to be, I don't want to. I'm a very humble person. I try not to look at myself as beyond what people think, but there's always that notion because I've always been compared, like the guy or whatever the case may be. But whenever a certain wrestler that basically started the whole movement, you could say, how would you call it? And then for some mysterious reason is no longer there and leaves and disappears, Um, how was that mood, was it received? Because what I wanted to know, and I wish I was able to at least see that because I never really had the opportunity to. And good thing I'm alive and well to still give you, the inside scoops because I know a lot of people still have a mystery as to what really happened, and I'm willing to engage in that at some point. But like after 2003, let's just get to that part because that interests me a lot. That was the year that I left it. Um, and you were saying that they were still there, but the atmosphere wasn't the same. Like, how long? I know I mentioned this earlier in our first conversation, but I wanted to know because remember there was another guy there too that I remember. What's this guy's name? A few guys that were there that decided to stay in the Federation, but then remember Rave? Do you remember
Oh,
him?
Rave! Wow, yeah, heck yeah, I remember him. He remind me of Raven.
Yeah,
That's the
Rave.
guy with the long hair.
Yeah, that was the guy with the long hair. Yep.
Yeah.
Remember him? And he was a really good addition for the show. I really liked him too. He really there was a move that I didn't do well. I did it correctly, but the wrestler did not fall the way he was supposed to. And then he saw that, and I remember, and he was like, "Vinny, do it again, son. Do it again, man. Nah, do it again. Do it again." I was like, "Oh man," because he wants me to do it the right way. But the wrestler, we both fall in a certain way that had it been done the right way the first time, that probably wouldn't be mentioned. But see, it's just those little things that you go back in time, and for me, I'm just talking about for me in general. I know most people don't remember it anymore because that's so many years ago, but those little things, they stick with you, and you don't forget that, you always remember that. That's one of the most important aspects. You see that wrestlers care because they want your matches to look good. Because if their matches look good, right, then that means that the Federation is going to look good. And when the Federation looks good, that means you're going to have an audience that is going to want to watch that product, as you would may say, and and be loyal to it. Because there are other shows they could watch. They don't have to watch our show. They could flip to other channels and watch other different wrestling shows or watch anything else that they wanted to. But they're devoted. They're giving their time to us. We're the sacrifice makers. we're basically sacrificing our bodies, our health, right, to tell a story, which, quite frankly, is very important to keep an audience. For me personally, my concept was at the time, and still is today, because I don't think I've changed nothing. I'm still the same exact who I was then, now, and people can't believe that. They thought I was probably a phantom because they said, he's a mystery because he suddenly just disappeared. He vanished. Is he dead? Did he die? Is he going to resurrect? Are we going to see the Vinny Mac second of the coming of Vinny Mac? Are we going to see Vinny Mac at one point resurrect again? The second coming of the Vinny Mac? I don't know. But the point is, that I felt, Vulture, is that that I wanted to be different than everything else that was being put on TV. And for me, was very personal. I wanted things to look realistic. That was what was very important for me, not just looking like another wrestling, show on TV. I wanted to be different and unique, and I wanted to stand out because I wanted for many years to come, and I don't care how long it is, but I wanted people to remember and say, wow, back then, because remember, we were ahead of the times. We were ahead of the curve, before everybody else. We did things like, when you see the show, you see a product, you was like, damn, that's like 15 years ahead. Like, you watch everybody else, and they're like stuck in the same year, and we're moving like, our product basically was pretty much advanced in its time. Right? I mean, if you think about it, we added replays in there. I mean, no other show did replays like we did. We had
effects. Yeah, your effects too. It was like beyond anything at the time. Like, as nobody could compare your show to them. It was like the advanced level that you had. It was like it excelled our show over anybody else because they didn't have that talent, and sucks for them, but I mean, it's great for us because I picked the right show to go to and the right people to hang around. But yeah, you're so right. You're on point with that, man, and I agree with 100% everything you said.
Wow, that means a lot to me, Vulture, because I look, I was all about opportunities. I wanted everyone to basically get the amount of same airtime. Eminem basically had this restriction, 29 minutes or 28 point seconds, and I did the very best I could to fit in most of the matches if I could. And if I couldn't fit that match that week, next week, you bet your bottom dollar you're going to see the remaining of that match. And that's what I try to do, And of course, you try to appease the masses. You want those guys to not feel like, damn, they cut my match. But don't worry, your match is going to air next week anyway. So,
yep, you made sure, even if they felt like they were the bottom of the barrel, you got to that part. You made sure everybody got a sip, a taste of every part of that, battle or whatever you want to call it. But I saw that. I definitely acknowledged that, and I saw that. And a lot of people were intimidated by you, Vinny. I just felt like I would talk to you and we would connect, and I said that in my head. I'm like, I'm going to approach him and talk to him. A lot of people didn't. They would stay in the background. Like, talk to him. He's freaking cool, after, the fact that I already talked to you, but at the time, I was like, I'm going to talk to him. I wasn't like other people trying to just watch you and want to say something but didn't, like, I was like, you know what? I got one shot. I'm gonna take the shot. That's all I got. All he can do is just ignore me or tell me no or kick my ass. That's the worst of it. But yeah, I approached you and you were freaking, as you said, 100% humble, and you came and you were really professional. I was like, wow, this guy he's really something else. He's original. He's unique. He has some type of stature that you feel intimidated, but once you talk to him, it's like, wow, he's not, he's not this, I thought from the videos and the promos, I was like, wow, he's a little full of himself, don't take it the wrong way, but I didn't know you at the time. I was just like, trying to get my feel for you before I talked to you. I was like, then I saw a side of you through your commentary, like, wow, he's for the people. He's for the, growth, and he wants people to like the show. So I'm like, okay, I got to talk about this. I'm like, hey, I watched the show, and I think I've seen like 2 shows, and I showed up. I love the product. Can I join? Can we make something happen here? And he actually took the initiative and said, hey, I'll wrestle you. I was like, okay, cool. And from there, like, I exploded. Compared to a lot of the wrestlers there. Like you said, a lot of them felt, like they weren't utilized. I'm one of them. But that was like after the fact. I think we were tag team champions, and then actually, now that I'm thinking about it, I did join the Elite. After you left, they had me join. Well, Pete had this scenario. Oh, UNC Red looked like a good team. You always wear blue. He always wears red, and you guys are like the same type of height, and that's okay. I didn't really like, like I didn't hate him or anything, but he wasn't like, someone that I, bonded with, like, it wasn't like us, but I said, yeah, I'm a team player, so I said, okay, let's do it. We became tag team champions, and then Pete had this idea. He's like, David, you're gonna turn heel. I want to see you bad. I was like, wow, this is what I've been wanting for years. I've been telling you that I want to be a bad guy, but he had this vision, so I'm with it. I'm like, okay. He's like, not now, whatever. So I'm like, I told him, I was like, I don't want to be good no more. I'm tired of being good. I always get shitted on. It takes longer to get what I want. I feel like if you make me heel, things will propel and excel faster than I was, you know, at the time. I felt like things were moving slow, but he had the vision, and I saw it too. So he's like, okay, you guys are the tag team champions. You guys are gonna face me and Will, and you're gonna turn on C Red. We're not gonna tell him. Hopefully he plays along with it and finishes the match. So I'm like, okay. So C Red didn't know anything. He's like, after this, you're gonna join the Elite, become a heel, and this is where I thought, okay, this is the time that I'm gonna become a champion, because now I have the Elite behind me. Then that makes me bigger than what I am, and in size wise also. So I do what he says. C Red was hitting, I think, Will on the floor, and then I just ran up to C Red out of nowhere, and his back was faced, his back was faced to me, so I turned him over, like, towards me, and I'm like, I stick my middle finger up, and I kick him and pedigree him. When I grabbed him into the pedigree, he's like, I fucking know it.
Oh shit!
I was like, I'm
Oh
sorry,
wow!
man. And I pedigreed him on the floor, and then we lost the titles, but I gained the elite on my side. So long story short, nothing happened with me. That whole thing with Wasp, it made me feel like, okay, the kid doesn't really, maybe he doesn't want to lose to me, or he doesn't respect me, or maybe he just really has some, family issues or things going on with him personally that he didn't show up for the whole month. So I'm like, okay, I accepted that, but winning the title the way I did, and it wasn't against Wasp, I was like disappointed, because it wasn't what I thought was going to happen and what Pete wanted and he saw. And I thought once I went into Continental title, if you know how it goes back then in WWF, at the time when I was a kid, you went into Continental title, you get a shot at the title. So I thought maybe, okay, this is it. I had the title, nothing happened, I lost the title, and then I just felt adrift. I just felt like just a part of this group. And it was like, I joined the NWO, like you said, you was one of the original elite. I joined after, you remember NWO had like 50 members?
Yeah,
That's how
yeah.
I felt. It was already too late. It was too much things going on to like have anybody specifically doing something or working. It was too much going on. So I just walked into the sunset and just like I called it a day, and I just if things turn and maybe you feel better, maybe Peter will call me and say, Dave, I have something for you. If you're interested, you get the title. So nothing happened. Years passed by, and I told Peter, I was like, what messed me up, like when C-Red won the title. Like that should like put a hole in my heart. I was like, shoot, you told me that I wasn't, like heavyweight material, but he won the title. That just like blew my mind. I was just like, what? So like
He never. I'm sorry. He never got to tell you why he wanted to put the belt on him.
Not really. I never got to the question of asking him that. I did mention to him that how could you make C-Red champion? After years, we spoke. I was like, what bugged me out was like, you told me I wasn't championship material, and I went all out there, and I was like dedicated. I would take a loss to anyone, even the new guy. As long as if it led to some story or something that felt right, I was willing to do it. No complaints. But the only complaint I had was that C-Red took the title. So I wonder what C-Red's doing now, man. 'Cause,